Hey, friends, welcome back to the Rising Tide Life podcast. Man, we are so excited that you guys are here. We've got a really great episode ahead of us today. My name's Austin Samuelson. This is my good friend, Matt Carpenter. Matt, how have you been?
So good. Honestly, I was just thinking, Austin, of there's so much about the podcast that I feel like God has blessed, but really, aside from these microphones and lights and cameras, like just the dialogue that we get to have about God, and it is like it's something I really look forward to. If anything, I feel like I always have to kind of get over the rest of it to get to the place of like, okay, like I'm getting to just talk with my friend about the most important thing in my life, and that somehow God might use that for my life, for your life, but also for other people's lives. So. Yeah, no, I'm excited. I'm excited to be together again. We got a couple coming up here that I think are gonna be really awesome. So.
Yeah, I am really pumped. When we started talking and praying through what we're gonna talk about today, it was just like, let's go. Like it needs to be.
Yeah,
today.
it seemed like very quick. Like, oh no, that's what God has us to do. And so yeah, I'm super hopeful in that. And I think for me too, just. We got to spend the weekend together, not this last weekend, but the weekend before that at a Rising Tide men's reset up in Branson with an incredible group of guys. You included into that as just an incredible friend, an incredible brother. And so I mean, obviously, like I've done multiple of those, and for me, it still doesn't get old. It's still like just I'm not shocked at what God does anymore, but I'm still amazed.
Yeah.
And so, just want to kind of hear maybe just like your perspective on the weekend or the long weekend. Like, what were you expecting? What did you experience?
I knew this question was coming, and I'm still struggling with how to frame this correctly because there's just so much. Like God did so much, and I went into it with really high expectations because I knew that I knew your heart behind it. I'd talked to other guys that have been before, and maybe I've done things a little bit out of order, here because we did family camp first, and then Ashton and I went on the marriage reset, and we talked about that on previous podcasts, and then the men's reset. And so just having already done those, I was like, oh, this is going to be incredible. And so it was an absolute amazing time. The group of guys that God brought together. I think there's so much, and it's hard to articulate that, but the group of people, whether it's family camp, marriage resets, men's resets, and you prayerfully invite men into this and families into these things. And but God always does the work. And I think there's just such a testimony of the right group of people together at the right time, seeking God and wanting to follow him and wanting to push back against areas in our lives where we feel like we've lost. And I think so kind of the whole setup for these men's resets, right? Or, we're in this world where life is just happening to us and we feel like so often we're playing defense, and it's an opportunity. You framed it up really well, kind of like the old school video games where it's like, we just need to hit the reset button. You got to start the game over.
Yes.
And we had that opportunity. You led us through some absolutely incredible discussions and brought out some really cool principles. And then we got to, as a group, talk about how to put them into practice.
Yes.
As men, as fathers, as husbands. And it was really, really special. It was a special time. So went into it with really high hopes, but God just blew all that out of the water, and it was so much better even than what I was expecting.
Man, that's awesome. Praise God.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely love the time together. I revel in it. I think it's like it just feels like a piece of heaven to me. But I also love after I come home and all the calls, the text messages from the men that are like not just saying, "Hey, I had a great weekend," but they're like, "I actually put this into practice and it's already bearing fruit." I mean, literally the day we get back, like I start, and even the group message we have is was like just filled, and I think that's something that both with the resets, but even with this podcast, like that's always been our heart.
Yeah.
Is we don't want to just talk academically. We don't want to just dialogue around a principle. We want to get it to the place where we're actually going and doing something, living it out.
Yeah.
And because that's the space where you start to bear fruit. And it's been incredible just over the last couple weeks or a week and a half now since we had that. I've just got a couple more messages even this morning from guys that are like, and I still am doing the same thing at work, but work has changed for me. And even get messages from wives. They're like, I don't know what you guys did there, but I know that my man came home different.
Wow.
And like it's that excites me because it just I just feel like God's like, no, I'm doing this. Yeah. And what we've talked about from the very beginning is we believe that God is doing a lot.
Yes.
And more than, and with, for me, that feels like overwhelming sometimes. Like, man, there's so much work to do.
Yeah.
And God just keeps on reminding me, no, I'm doing the work. I'm just inviting you to be a part of it.
Yeah.
And I just continue to feel like, God, thank you so much for the invitation. I'm so thankful to be along for the ride.
Yeah.
And not only along for the ride with God, but along for the ride with the right people. And you know, one of the main takeaways for me, probably three of them, from this last weekend was, first off, I was going through some of my old pledge sheets, and if you've been to a men's reset, you know what I'm talking about. If not, you just have to come. And there were a couple of things that I was looking back on, and one of them that I just committed with my area of influence, that I just written on there, don't give up on some men.
Yeah.
And I know what was in my mind. Like I remember like making that declaration. Yeah. And it was, I'd invited some guys along that just hadn't came or had to cancel last minute. Yeah. And frankly, it was just an insecurity that was playing off of that. That was, oh man, these guys don't want to be a part of this. Like they don't want to be bothered by it. Don't, you know, like you invited them once, like just let them be. And I just felt like in that reset, I remember it. God was like, help me to picture some of those guys. And I was like, no, at the right time. Mm-hmm. Not just the right people, but the right people at the right time. Yeah. Then if you don't give up, like I'll still accomplish it. And so I was reading that, and I was looking around the room, Austin, and there were 7 of the guys that were there at this reset that were in that category. Yeah. And I was just like, God, thank you, Lord, that I didn't give up. Yeah. But trusted you and continue to follow through, even though my faith at the moment was a little bit weak. You know, my insecurity was high. And just to see not only that they were there, but they were there at the right time. Yeah. And it was like pivotal moments for them. And so super thankful for that. I also got to see probably the most vivid, and you were there for this too. And it was at 1:30 in the morning. And it wasn't supposed to be that late. It was like, I know I'd said, no, this thing, we'll be done with this by 10:30 tonight. And it was like not happening. And if I'm honest, I was sitting there going like, oh man, like this is like, I mean, everybody's just taking too long. Like, you know, but what happened at 1:30 in the morning was worth waiting for in every way. And I got to see the most vivid example of a life surrendered that I've ever seen in my life. Yeah. And I don't want to go into too much detail because it's not fully my story to tell, but it was so faith building to me. Yeah. And I just left there going like, well, God, if you can do that, in that quick of a time, and I know God did a lot to prepare for that, but if you can do that in that guy's life, nobody's got a chance. Yeah. You know, it's like,
that's so true.
What I think, you know, Scripture says, surely the arm of the Lord is not too short to save. Yes. And I was like, yeah, God, there's nobody has a chance. Yeah. Like, it was so faith building.
It really was like unbelievable. Yeah.
And it really was the laying down of an old identity. Mm-hmm. It wasn't just the confessing of a sin or of sins. Yeah. It was the laying down of identity. Yeah. Like all of the worst and all the best. And actually, like, just to be straight, I think that's the only thing that actually would equate to true salvation.
Yes.
I don't think,
Yeah.
I just don't think praying a prayer equals salvation.
Yeah.
And I know we try to really simplify the gospel,
Mm-hmm.
and we kind of make it something you can communicate in 3 sentences and with 3 verses. And I get the desire for simplicity and to equip people to be able to communicate.
Yeah.
But the gospel is so much more than 3 sentences or 3 verses,
Yeah.
especially if we get the guys that were closest to Jesus. They're like, I needed to write a whole book about it. And then I needed to also say, and actually, if I really wanted to explain it, it would take all the books in the world.
Yeah.
But to see that picture of a life surrendered and realizing it wasn't about 3 verses or a prayer. Yeah. It was about, I'm going to lay down identity.
Yes.
And pick up a new one.
Yeah.
Like that's incredible.
Yeah. It really was such a beautiful picture because it broke down everything of what this person was, and it was complete surrender. But the thing is, in that you and I have talked about this before, and I can't remember if we've talked about this on the podcast. It's not just to lay down and say, here it is. It's a pick up
a new
of the new identity that was so powerful in that, And you just said that it wasn't just, hey, we just confess some sins or something. It was like, I'm setting this aside, even the good, even the really incredible good of it, and saying, no, I want what Jesus has to offer more than all of that.
Yes, I'm giving the best of me and the worst of me.
Yeah.
And not just trying to say, God, take all my worst, but I'm going to take care of this stuff still.
Yes.
This is still, but like, I want to lay down the best of me and the worst of me.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was beautiful. Like, I guess I'll throw this back to you. Was there any identity things that you came out of it being like God was speaking new things over you?
Yeah, I think, and I might be in that category of the 7 guys that didn't go, because I didn't go on the first one.
Sure.
And you look back and you're like, okay, did I miss something there? But the reality of it was I needed to be on this one that I just went on. And what God was doing in my life leading up to it, what happened there, what's continuing to happen has been really incredible. And so just for me personally, couple things that really jumped out was God is continuing to speak in this season for me about He is a God of abundance. And
yes.
Matt, you did a really good job of continuing to draw us back to that. And we talk about this. If this is your first time listening to this podcast, this is a podcast for men who try, right?
Yes.
But so often in our lives, we can be men who try out of our own strength and in our own power. And we talked a lot about that, of like, it goes back again to that surrender and saying, hey, what God's got to offer is better. And if we're willing to surrender what our effort, what we think we can do, there's so much more out there. And that's faith, right? Of laying that down and not knowing fully what that looks like. And so that's I'm very much in that season of that.
Yeah.
But I think one of the things that was really, really sweet is we had some time to get away and listen. And the journal that I had taken to the marriage reset, which was a month before, was the same journal I was using. And so sat down with God, and he spoke over me, hey, Austin, it's time that you start having vision again. Because that's an area of my life. I've always been a man of vision. I'd say I'm a visionary, I'm a dreamer, all these things.
Yes.
The last few years, though, I've really I've retreated in that area of my life.
Yes.
And really stopped dreaming in a lot of ways. And in that moment of having that time of quiet, God was like, hey, it's time to start dreaming again. Mm. And I need you to trust me. I need you to believe that. And so wrestled through that. I was writing some of those things down. And I kept hearing the word see, like, I want you to see again. Yeah. And Carp, it's just crazy how God works, right? But I'd kind of gone through that. And I was like, I want to look back through some of the things that, at the marriage reset. And Ashton had written in the back of my journal. And she said, hey, you're a seer.
Yes.
And it's time that you start seeing the promised land again. And I'm like,
wow.
I don't remember her writing that.
But it was at the right time.
And it was at the right time.
And it was from the right source.
Yes.
It was from your wife.
It was just
trusted
it was
source.
so incredible. Like, God was so kind in that to he was speaking that to me, but he also was giving me that affirmation from my best friend in the world.
Yeah.
And it was just absolutely incredible. And then you and I had some conversations coming out of that was just incredible. And that was just a really, really special thing. I think the other thing too, he gave me I've always thought of myself as a like, we always joke, Ash and I, she's like, you're a fighter, not a lover.
Okay.
And like, I'm like, hey, you want to argue? Let's go. Let's argue, And I mean, that's just like, if I really like you, I want to argue with you about stuff, and I want to work things out,
Well, true love does fight.
That's right. So, so that's a little bit more of my nature. And so that's, through business and work and all that, that was always kind of an area that I leaned on. And honestly, I was able to see success in that, right? And so we always talked about it, Tacos for Life, like warrior mindset and all that stuff. And so that was always kind of this thing, right? And but I felt like God was saying, hey, I want you to be a worshipful warrior. And I'm not musical, I'm not, any of that. But it's this mindset of like, our work is worship, right? And so instead of approaching work and approaching, hey, the mission that God's put us on is like a fight, I want you to do it through worship.
Yes.
Which for me, maybe some guys, you might hear that and be like, yeah, of course. For me, that was very kind of a 180 type of thinking. And so anyhow, so I feel like he's very much been working with me, working through that in my life. And then we come home a few days later, and we've talked about this Airbnb, enough on this podcast, but we're still learning and trying to figure all of it out. And I'm trying to drain the hot tub, and it's the most simple little valve. You pull it out, you hook the hose on, you push it back in just the right amount, and it starts draining. I can't get it to do it. I've done it before, and it's worked. Read the instructions again, watch videos. I can't get it to work. And I'm like, God, please help me. And I'm frustrated. And Ashton comes out.
And why is this so hard?
Yeah. And Ashton comes out, and I'm like, babe, she goes, what's wrong? I'm like, this is so silly. I know I'm dismissing something. And she's like, I'll try it. And she climbs up underneath there. She does it. Immediately it starts draining. I was like, what did you do? And she said, I stopped and prayed. And I was like, well, I prayed too. I'm mad. And a few minutes later, she left and went back to the house, and I was like, God, what's that about? Mm-hmm. And he spoke to me so kindly in that he said, hey, you're getting frustrated right away, and you're still leading with anger and frustration, and like I want you to come to me out of like belief and worship and hope.
Yeah,
and so. There's still a lot there that I'm working through and unpacking, but man, that just hit me. And I've even been able to go back to that over the last few days when we run up against something like, hey, how am I going to approach this? Am I going to approach this through like, hey, I'm going to fight my way through it? Or am I going to take a step back and say, God, you got this? Yeah. Like, what is this? What do I need to see in this? And so I don't know if that resonate with you or with anybody else.
I mean, and there's so much, I think, that not only resonates with me, I think it resonates with really most men. And probably women too.
Yeah.
But that we spend so much time in our lives focusing on what and how.
Yes.
What am I going to do? How am I going to do it? What am I going to do? How am I going to do it? And that is a life that will lead to either boredom or frustration. Mm-hmm. And so one of the things that I believe before the Lord, but even what we try and do with the resets is like, let's get to the what and how, but let's focus first on the why and the who.
Yeah.
And it really is a different way to think. It's a different way to approach, and repentance is thinking differently.
Yeah.
And so much of this podcast is we're going to try and root it right here at the place of first, who am I?
Yeah.
And who's God say that I am?
Yep.
Because if we skip over that and we just try to apply a new what and how, we will never believe first who we are. Yeah. And we might behavior modify for a little bit.
Yeah.
But once we know who we are, because we know whose we are, then we can bring the best of that into every what and how.
Yeah.
And it doesn't feel like it's ritual, it doesn't feel like it's routine, it doesn't feel like it's laborsome. It's just, no, I'm being who God said that I am.
Yep.
And I'm able to then do what God says to do. And I think if we misorder those things, it really does come to probably what you said, leading with frustration.
Yep.
And yeah, so I think it's a great place to go from, and the hope would be to get, and we'll just see how far this goes, to by the end of this podcast get to the place where we've identified probably 3 identities.
Okay.
First one being, who does God say that I am? But with that, also trying to track through and see if we can determine, who does the enemy say that I am, or what is the accusation?
Yeah.
And we know that what Scripture says about Satan, even Satan's not a name; it's really a title that means the accuser, the one who always accuses. And so the voice of the false father, which is another way that the enemy is talked about. He says that you have one father that is your heavenly Father, and he's a good father. When he speaks identity, he speaks truth always. Mm-hmm. But then there's a false father, and his native tongue is lying, and he always is standing in accusation, and not necessarily first lying about circumstances or situations, first lying about identity. And he's constantly trying to say to every single one of us, this is who you're not. And God's always trying to say to us, no, this is who you are. This is who you are. And so those are the first 2 things. Now, what I find in my life, and even in so many other people's lives, is if you ask them, okay, so what is your identity? Who does God say that you are? It's like, I don't know. Well, maybe, I guess, God's son.
Yeah.
So I guess he calls me son, I guess. And you hear that, like, that dialogue, the internal one, that's like, oh, well, maybe, I guess he would perhaps call me his son, or call me loved. And it's, for one, it's very general. Yeah. And it doesn't make it less true, but it's very general, but also it's like, and I'm not even really sure about it, maybe. But if you ask somebody, man, who does the enemy say that you are? Or what is the voice inside? Yeah. It's like, oh, I can tell you right now. Yeah. Like loser, imposter. Yep. Like fake, whatever, and there's like a list of like words. Yeah. And it goes to show like that the voice of the accuser is actually ruling our identity. And we're not actually hearing the voice of God. We're just hearing the voice of accusation. Yeah. So then when we walk into any circumstance, we walk into it with the belief that we are who the enemy says that we are versus that we are who God says that we are. Yeah. And it becomes like super destructive. Yeah. So second identity would be the identity of the accuser. Okay. And then the third one is what I would call the pose. Okay. And I think in all of those insecurities that come from the accusation, then we want to do whatever we can to cover over. And to just take it back to the garden, that was the first response in lost identity in the garden. Okay. Was, oh, we lost identity, let's go find some fig leaves. Yeah. And let's cover over who we truly are. Yeah. Because now we feel shame. Yeah. And the enemy, Satan, still preys on shame. And he preys on it with first a covering not just of nakedness, but a covering of who we are meant to be in this world. Yeah. And it separates us, not only it separates intimacy, but it also separates engagement with God's creative nature. So that pose often comes out in who we're trying to project, so that nobody actually sees our nakedness or where we feel shame. Yeah. Or where we're insecure. And man, men are so good. We're so good at putting out a pose. Yeah. That's like, there's some guys you would have no idea that the insecurity that they deal with. Yeah. Because they're so good at putting out a pose of strength. And where that strength is about like physical muscles. Yep. And that could be a part of a pose. Yeah. That's like, no, I'm going to hide behind muscles because I actually feel weak. Yeah. And so I got to project strength in that way. Or I'm going to hide behind success or financial accumulation. Like, no, like I'm important. Yeah. And there's all these poses that we put forth of what either to cover over an insecurity, or it's what we think other people want us to be.
Right.
And so I think those three identities like are present in every man's life. And what if we could get to the place though where we can recognize a lie for what it is, and confess a truth.
Yeah.
Okay. And I know that we talk about confession a lot of times around the confessing of a sin. And well, confession is about telling God how I've messed up.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying it's not that, but confession is actually just telling the truth. And there's a lot of truth to be said other than just, hey, I did something wrong.
Yeah.
And that's true. I did some stuff wrong.
Yeah.
But what if we could get to the place where our confession is actually the truth, not just about what we've done, but the truth about who we are.
Yeah.
And to say, this is not who I am.
Yeah.
I'm not who the accuser says that I am. I also am not this other guy that I try to put forward. Like, I know that I'm not him, but I am who God says I am. And if we could confess that and believe it, and believe it because God said it, but maybe also then maybe it comes through your wife or another trusted source. It's like, and that's where even in the marriage resets, we're trying to reprogram our marriages to contain affirmation of identity.
Yes.
And that's an incredible, it's a powerful thing, right? So I don't know if all it's tying together, I guess, what do you hear me saying in that, or where would you say we take the next step?
Yeah. So 3 identities. First is who God says I am. Second is who Satan or the deceiver says we are. And then the third is who we suppose is who we try to project, right?
Yes.
Okay. So I think the thing, and this was brought up at the reset, but I would love for you to maybe think about this, but how closely related can those 3 be? You know? Yeah. And one of the guys, Jason, brought up the fact that he was talking about one of his children, but he's like, man, the lie that the enemy always tries to put on one of his kids is the exact opposite of what he sees God's identity for that child, right? So like the enemy's like just flipping it on his head. So it's like, okay, so we see this, and it's like, but it's also, I think he shared an example of like, hey, we're seeing this behavior, but let's look at what does God say about this, and it was the exact opposite, you know?
Yeah.
So
well, and that was true for me even, and I get to go through these resets regularly, and there's still not one that God hasn't spoken new identity over me, which is like incredible.
That's incredible, yeah.
So I was reflecting like during our time at the reset, and just asking God, like, are there any things that any places where the enemy has stolen or has tried to steal identity away from me? And the earliest memory, and I said this at the reset, but I'll say it now, the earliest memory I have of kind of insecurity was around like speaking up. And I remember being in our backyard on Avenue D in Kearney, Nebraska, and we had this neighbor that lived behind us. His name was Dick. And I remember multiple times being out there with my dad, and Mr. Dick would come out to work on his garden, and he'd say hi to us. And I remember so many times like kind of getting in trouble. Yeah. That my dad would be frustrated with me because he'd be like, Matt, speak up, speak up. And even if I did like say hello, it was like so quiet that Dick couldn't have heard it. And I remember that like at this time where I was like, God, like, what is that? And I felt like God was showing me that one of the very earliest things that the enemy tried to take away from me was my voice. Wow. Of like, you're inarticulate. And there was a shame, there was a insecurity of maybe how my voice sounded or what I would have to say. But it really was deeper than that. It was like I was ashamed about like who I was. And some of that even tied back to my parents' relationship and like kind of the dysfunction of our own home that was like kind of cloaked in shame for me. That God's all used like so much of that and redeemed so much of that, and I'm grateful for it. But still, that was a place where identity was stolen. Or at least the enemy tried to steal it. And so where I find myself now, I mean, almost reluctantly, well, no, very reluctantly at first, not just with the podcast, but even when I felt like God was like, I want you to do ministry. I was like, but that means I have to be in front of a bunch of people talking. And that's not who I am.
Yeah.
And it was because I didn't want to be seen. I didn't want to be heard.
Yeah.
Because I didn't believe I had anything to say. Now, what I learned to do over the years is I learned to hide behind the Word of God.
Okay.
And that's very much how I interacted with it. Like if I was speaking in front of people, I was just like, well, I know if I get up there, as long as it's not me that's seen and me that's heard, I'll just make sure it's God that's heard. And I found this place of comfort and this place of protection there. And so I was just asking God, like, basically, what have I grown into in identity?
Yeah.
And I felt like God was saying, and I kind of went through a couple different words. One of them was articulate. Because if it's inarticulate, then it would be articulate. And I just felt like that wasn't right. I was like, no, that's like too mechanical. And it's about like saying the right words.
Yeah.
And he's like, I've actually made you for more than just saying the right words. And I also kind of thought about, well, orator. And again, that almost fit less.
Yeah.
In that, to me, that sounds like an elevation of a person onto a stage or into a microphone. That's you're an orator. And whether that means that or not, it did in my mind at that point. And so the last one that I felt like God said is, and this felt like it fit, is God was like, I actually have chosen you to be a voice box for me.
Yeah.
And when I imagine what that is, voice box it's tissue, it's flesh that has breath that's always moving through it, that moves it. And when I thought about that, God, there's just something inside me that was like, God, that's what I've always wanted to be.
Wow.
I've always just wanted to be flesh, like me as a person, that always has your breath blowing through my life in a way that moves me.
Yeah.
And in a way that moves me, but also amplifies you through me.
Yeah. Wow.
And that's what a voice box does. It like takes breath and it makes it audible. And in a way that it can be heard.
Yeah.
And I was like, God, if that's what I could be, if that's what you've made me to be, like there's nothing I'd rather be.
Yeah.
And not because like I'm saying the right words or articulate.
Yeah.
But because like I want to be living the right life, so that you can be heard and seen, not so that I can be heard and seen.
Yeah.
And so anyway, it was super special for me.
Wow.
And continues to be. And so to go back to your question, how does it relate?
Yeah.
And the very accusation was tied to the very truth of God.
Yes. Wow.
And I think there's so much of that the enemy tried to steal from me at the very youngest of ages. And I'm so thankful that God has been redemptive of that. And I don't think the redemption is a guarantee. Okay. Now God's always redemptive, but that doesn't mean that everybody experiences it. It's how we respond. And so if there's anything anybody can kind of hear through just the beginning of this, whether it be through Austin's story or through my story, or even talking about the resets, is God is a redemptive God, and he does have identity that he speaks over every single one of us, and it is unique. Now, there are communal identities, and that is firstly who we are. Before I'm an individual, I'm first a part of a family, and same thing for you. And so the invitation within this podcast is the invitation into the family where God gets to be Father, and he gets to be the truth teller about us.
Yes.
But then also individually, because one of your identities I know that you're walking in is architect.
Yeah.
And not like in building buildings, but to see something and to make it accessible so that you can put it in the hands of another builder or any builder and see them build it too.
Yeah.
And again, for me, this idea of voice box, but I'm not architect and you're not voice box.
Right.
But that's where when we come together, then God's image gets known on this earth.
Yes.
And so there's a piece that God's put inside of you of his identity. And that combination of gifts and talents, abilities, makeups, genetics, place, space, all of that combines together in a unique fingerprint that God has put only in your life.
Yes. Yeah.
And that can be used for all of the goodness of God.
Yeah.
Or what Satan is constantly trying to do is he's trying to redirect that and use it all for evil.
Yeah.
And so whatever this identity piece is, it's central to the image of God being known individually through us, but also communally through us.
Yeah.
And so that's where we're trying to get to with this. And so I hope we can.
Yeah. Wow. That's an incredible story. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I just want to, like, as I'm hearing you say that and just affirm that, because there's so many times that I've seen you with other people, whether it be in a reset or just in our interactions, that, you know, we would get together and have lunch, and the things that you spoke in those lunches changed my life. And it was God guiding you and the Holy Spirit guiding you.
Yeah.
But it was pointing me back to truth and pointing me back to, you know, all the different things, right? But ultimately pointing me to God. And there's oftentimes I'd leave those lunches and I'd call Ash and I'm like, I don't know, like, how we got there in this conversation. And just like, I mean, it's God, right? And it's like, yes, 100%.
Yeah.
But I just, as you're saying, describing what a voice box is, it's like you were just letting God speak through you. Yeah. And you've done that in my life, and I know so many others. So, yeah.
Well, what a privilege, like, whether it be voice box or architect or whatever whoever God says that each one of us, who we are. Yeah. What a privilege when we get to walk in that and see eternity come to pass.
Yes.
You know, because, like, there's so much of it that, would that have been my hope? Absolutely. But to hear you say that, or even the times where we actually partner with God to be who he said that we are, and we get to experience then the eternal fruit of it. And this is where so much of the next podcast we'll talk about then, once we bring really the best of who we are, who God says we are, into a circumstance, not only is there ease for our souls, and because now all of a sudden we're not trying to live three different lives. Yeah. And we're not living a divided identity. We're not having a split personality. Is really, like, we're delivered from that, and there's peace. But also then we can bring that identity into every circumstance, and then eternity comes with us. Yeah. And, like, that's incredible. Yeah. To get to live that kind of life. Yeah. Where you're seeing eternity come to your marriage through you. Yes. You're getting to see eternity come to your family through you. Yeah. You're getting to see eternity come to your marketplace, your job through you. Yeah. And now all of a sudden, instead of just grinding away, living this mortal life, constantly hiding behind a pose, insecure that, like, the real you, the accusation will be found out. Yeah. And that life is filled with stress. Yeah. Because now you got to constantly perform, you got to constantly produce to keep up the front. Yeah. Okay. But then you're constantly living in shame, not only for what you've done in the past, but what you continue to be or who you believe that you are. And that creates, like, an internal strife. Yeah. So you got external striving, you got internal striving, and there's no peace. No peace. That's exactly what was coming to my mind. Nothing left. Peace. But on the other side of it, it's like there's peace. Yeah. There's joy. There's purpose. There's so many things that from these previous podcasts that my hope is that they'll coalesce. They'll combine. They'll come together here, and we'll trust God for that. Let's lay a little bit more foundation of Scripture. I love this. I love this story from the Old Testament, and I think it illustrates incredibly well. Not only God's redemptive cycle, to bring about new identity. But it illustrates so much the life of a man that's struggling with three identities, and that's the story of Jacob. And so pretty much all the story of Jacob is contained in Genesis chapter 25 through, I think it's maybe through the end of Genesis still. But the main part that we'll talk about today is kind of 25 through maybe the next 12 chapters or something like that, I think. I don't know how far we'll go. But the story of Jacob starts off with great lineage. So Jacob and Esau, twins, okay, born to Isaac and Rebekah, that is the son of Abraham. Okay, so and God has spoken this blessing over Abraham and over his lineage, right?
Yes.
Through a promised son that would be Isaac. And so this is like family heritage.
Yeah.
Okay. So as far as family heritage, Jacob's got the best of it.
Yeah.
I mean, he's one generation removed from the father of all nations. Okay. Which is pretty dang good.
Yeah.
And then he has a miraculous dad. Okay. And it's like, his dad was born at a very old age, child of promise. So this is what the family he comes into, and so it kind of starts off that Rebekah is pregnant with twins, and it says they jostled inside of her, and she was like, "What's this going on inside of me?" And so basically the picture is there was conflict between the brothers
from the beginning. At
the very beginning, before they were even born, they were fighting, and there's a little bit of that with I have 5 boys in my house, so there's a little bit of that that sibling rivalry stuff starts from the very beginning, and it's just part of the wrestling match of every man, whether we're talking about biological siblings or just jostling for first position, okay. And so there's so much of that I think is part and parcel to the journey of every man, that there's something inside of us that wants to fight to be first. Now, there was a prophecy that was spoken, though, to Rebekah at that moment from God that was, because it says she inquired of the Lord, what's going on inside of me? And God says, well, there's a wrestling match, and what's going to happen is the older will serve the younger, which is like counterculture.
Yeah.
Because the birthright and the blessing would go to the firstborn son. And that would mean double portion of inheritance. So out of it, especially if there's just two kids, the oldest son would get a double portion. So 2/3 of the estate would go to the oldest son, 1/3. And so it was like double of everything.
Yeah.
That was birthright. And it was also blessing that the father would then give the blessing of rulership, okay, that is linked in with the kind of the spirit of adoption, or the adoption ceremony. I think we've talked about that on this podcast. So it's linked in with that. There was that blessing that come from a father at an older age. So this is how kind of everything starts with this story. And so then the 2 kids are born, and the first one comes out as Esau. And do you know what he looks like when he comes out?
It's hairy, right?
Yeah, it says he's covered in hair. And which I don't know what you do as a parent when your first child comes out. I mean, it's like no, go back. I don't know, but that's what Scripture says. And so they name him accordingly. And so Esau means hairy, and so, okay, that's accurate. And they would name him on the 8th day. That was like the day that they would be circumcised. And so this would have been the 8th day that they're named, not the first day. But so they had a little bit of time to think about it. So they thought about it, and the best they could come up with was like every time they saw him, they was like, that's Harry. So we'll just call him Harry. But then the name that they choose for their second son, the second-born, is Jacob, which means to supplant or to deceive, okay? And maybe even congruent with the prophetic word from God, that if the younger is going to go over the older, that is supplanting. Okay? But it also can mean to deceive, to usurp, to to climb over, And so that declaration, I don't think his parents meant it as bad.
Okay.
I don't think any parent would do that and be like, you know what, we're just going to curse him from the time he was born with this bad name.
I hope not.
I think it was in response to, this is actually who God said that he is.
Okay.
But I don't think it was received as that. And I do think there's something to that whether a trusted voice in our life meant to or not, whether they were trying to say a good thing or whether they were trying to say a bad thing, there's a lot of things that God has spoken over us, again, that he's meant for good, that the enemy takes and he twists it just a little bit. And every lie has a lot of truth in it if it's powerful. In other words, like, there is no good lie that doesn't have truth in it, or quite a bit of truth. You can think about it like counterfeiting money. Like, nobody counterfeits a $3 bill.
Right.
Why? Because it has no power. There's no truth in it. You counterfeit a $100 bill, and you try to make it as close to truth as you can, so where it has as much power as possible. Okay. So every deception, every lie, including the ones of identity, have a lot of truth in them. But then they're just twisted enough to where they actually can be used for destruction rather than for godly purposes. At least that's the way I think it is. So, okay, so this is a story. And then it basically goes on to describe, okay, so you got Esau, and he is a man of the open country. So he's like the man's man. You know, not only is he, you know, like, I mean, I just picture him, long hair, long beard.
Probably got a great beard,
He's got a great beard. He's got a 5 o'clock shadow at 9 a.m., you know? Like, he's just like that guy, you know? Chest hair, back hair, you know? Like, he's just... It's like he goes out, he didn't have to wear a shirt. He's like, God equipped him with like a wool blanket all the time. So he's a man of the country, a man of the open. He's a hunter. And so he's that guy. And then it says about Jacob, it says, well, then Jacob, he stayed amongst the tents, which just means he like was hanging out with all the women. That's what he was doing. And so Esau's out like adventuring, hunting, like killing things, bringing them home, and he's favored because of it. And definitely favored by his father. And I think this is the part where we have to realize every son, their first need, their first desire, and they will fight their whole lives to get it, is the blessing or the approval of a dad.
Man.
And there's so many, not just 4-year-olds or 14-year-olds, there's so many 54-year-olds, which I'm getting close to that, that are still desperate just to hear approval from a dad. And that matters a ton. It matters so much about like what we think, what we do, what we achieve, what we think we need to achieve. That man, if I could just get my dad to say, "Good job. I'm proud of you. I'm proud of you, son." Which should mean a lot to us, both as we navigate through identity, but also like we got to keep that in our minds for our kids. That what are they looking for? In whatever they're doing, man, they're looking for you.
Speak identity.
To speak identity. And to affirm, no, not just in what you did, but in who you are. I love you. I accept you. I'm proud of you. It matters a lot. And so I think that's absolutely part of this story. That Jacob, from the youngest of ages, he's trying to find identity, and his dad is out in the field with his older brother. His older brother's getting dad's affection. He's the firstborn. He's got the clothes for it. You know, he's got the body for it. And here's like little. And it's smooth skin. It says he's smooth skinned Jacob. That's among the tents with his mom. And so that's kind of how their identity starts to develop. But then Jacob has a voice, and it's the voice of the accuser. That's like, you know what? Though you're a schemer, you're a supplanter, you're a deceiver. And I think that voice starts to like echo in his. And so the first chance that he gets. And it says his brother comes in from a long hunt. He's got nothing on that hunt. He comes home famished. And Jacob's been learning recipes from his mom. And so he's got this lentil stew that's cooked up.
Watching Food Network with mom.
No, he's exactly been on Food Network, and he's got all the spices. And it's not even actually like something that's that sustaining him. It's lentils.
Yeah.
It's not even like he's like, oh yeah, I've got this lamb stew, you know, that's like perfect lamb stew. Yeah. It's lentils.
Yeah.
But he's able to make it in a way that smells so good to Esau that when Esau comes home, he's like, I'm famished. And he's like, I would do anything. I'll give anything for a taste of that. Like, I'm starving.
Yeah.
And Jacob's like, oh, it's my chance.
Yeah.
And this is the spot where I think Jacob could have sold a ketchup popsicle to a woman in white gloves. You know, like, it's just like, he was like, this is who I am. Yeah. I'm made for this moment.
For yeah.
And now's my chance. I see something I can get that I don't have. And remember, like, when we were talking about when our focus is on what I don't have.
Yes.
And he's like, I don't have a blessing. Yeah. I don't have a birthright. I don't have favor. Yeah. I don't have the muscles. I don't have the manhood. Man, I'm going to try and get what I don't have. Yeah. And so that's his focus. And so he convinces his brother somehow to sell him his birthright for vegetable soup.
Vegetable soup. Yeah.
And it works. And you know what Jacob thinks out of it? He thinks, I did it.
Yeah.
And why? Not because I did this, but because this is who I am.
Yeah.
I'm Jacob. This is what I do.
Yeah.
And I accomplished this. So the story goes on. And his life as deceiver grows. So the next time we kind of catch up with him is now he's dealing with a dying father, a dying blind father. And it's not just birthright he wants to get, it's blessing.
Yeah.
And now his mom's involved in it. Okay?
Yeah.
And so she's involved in the plot. And so his dad says to Esau, he said, go out, and I want you to go out and kill me some wild game, prepare it the way I like. You know my boy, you know how I like it. Go out, get me some wild game and come back. And so his mom hears, and she's like, she goes to Jacob. She's like, Jacob, this is your chance.
Yeah.
This is your chance to be you, man.
Yeah.
And it's time for you to put on your deception. And so she's like, I'll help you. I got a great recipe for lamb. And now we're going to make up something better than lentil. And now we're going to use it to deceive your dad. And she says, but it's going to take more than just something you eat right now. You're going to have to put on something over your body. And so she's like, you need to put hairy garments so that if he reaches out and feels, he feels, and it feels like Esau. And I think this is where the pose comes in. Because now it's not just the accusation. It's godly identity first. Yeah. But there's an accusation that twists that. And now it's a pose of, I need to pretend like I'm somebody else. And so now he goes to his dying blind father, and he brings not just stew, but he brings a new self. And his dad says to him, who are you? And what does he say?
He says, I'm Esau.
I'm Esau.
Yeah.
His dad's like, really? You don't sound like Esau. Yeah. No. Feel my costume. Look at what I've put on. Feel this. And his dad feels, and he's like, oh, yeah, I guess like you feel like Esau. Yeah. And he's like, yeah, and I brought you this. And it's all these things trying to cover over who he actually is. Yeah. But it actually is also a manifestation of the accusation, because now here he is, and he's deceiving again. He's a schemer. Yeah. And so he tricks his dad. And then pretty soon Esau comes home. Esau's like, Dad, I got it. And his dad's like, wait, who was that? Who was that just was here? Because I just ate the meal. Yeah. And not only did I eat the meal, I gave him your blessing. And he says, and his dad now says, it was that deceiving brother of yours. So now the trusted voice in his life is actually condemning him. Yeah. He's saying, it's that deceiver.
This is who
He's a deceiver. Yeah. And you know what his brother says? He says, yep, Dad, he was rightly named. That's what Scripture says. It says he was rightly named Jacob, wasn't he, Dad?
Wow.
And now you've got two people in his life that are saying, yep, that's who he's always been, and it's who he always will be. He was rightly named. That's identity. and it's taken the hope of a father. And that's when a father named a kid at the 8th day, it was a declaration of a hope of who they become.
Okay.
But it's now twisted into a curse of who they will always be.
Yeah.
And I think that's where trusted voices in our lives, okay,
right,
can say things at times. And there's things that I think every man, if they're holding up a pose, that they've received some kind of affirmation or some kind of curse from a trusted source that's like, yeah, that's who you are. And it just solidifies that false identity, that accusation. It solidifies that lie in our lives. And that's absolutely what happened to Jacob here. It was like solidified.
Yeah.
And so now, you got mom that's now partnering with him in his deception.
Yep.
Dad that's saying, no, it's that deceiver, Jacob. And older brother that's like, yep. And he was rightly named. And so that's how the story is playing out. Now he goes, and so he runs away because his brother is mad, right? He's like, that. Not only did he steal my birthright away from me, now he stole my blessing. And he's like, he wants to kill him.
Yeah.
And he wants to destroy his identity.
Yeah.
So there's a preservation of identity that I think every man in this struggle will go through. That's like when the past is starting to catch up to them. And that's where then Jacob finds himself at this place that is called Bethel, which is Bethel. It means the house of God.
Okay.
And so he finds himself at this city, and in this city or in this place called Bethel, in the house of God, he has a dream. Do you know what his dream is?
Yeah, it's the staircase, right?
Yeah. It's Jacob's ladder. He sees a staircase or a ladder that connects heaven to earth. Okay, and think about that. Okay, now like he's at this place of desperation. Where he envisions heaven coming to earth and heavenly beings being able to come to earth, but also earthly beings getting to touch heaven.
Yeah.
Okay. So think about that.
Wow.
At this moment of crux of identity, the vision that God gives him is that heaven would come to earth and that an earthly being would actually get to touch and go into heaven. Like that's crazy, right?
That is crazy. Yeah.
And so, and that's the spot where Jacob makes the deal with God. Okay. And there's a lot of men that get to a place of like crossroads where their past is coming up, catching up to them, whether it's like financial crisis or it's identity crisis, or it's I've now crossed over these lines. I've cheated on my wife. I've like whatever, that's like, and it's like, oh, now I need God.
Yeah.
Right? Like I may have always needed him, but now I know I need him, because
really
if I don't do something right now, my life is over. And that's the spot that Jacob gets to. And he makes a deal with God. He says, God, if you can get me through this. I think this is end of chapter 28, where Jacob says to God, he's like, God, if you can just get me through this, I'll give everything to you. And is that sincere? Yeah, it's sincere but it's sincerely desperation. And it's like, it's this bargaining with God. And again, I think that men get to that place at different times in their life.
Yeah.
Don't you think so?
100%.
Where it's like, okay, God, if you can just get me out of this.
Yeah.
And it's not even about who I'm going to be. It's just like who I'm not, who I won't be. God, just get me out of this, and I won't ever do that again.
Right.
Like I won't ever, man, if you could just bail me out. Like I remember a point where I just cried out to God. It just would take too long to tell the story. It's just like, God, if you can just get me out of this situation. So that's where Jacob's at.
Yeah.
Place of desperation. And that's where God speaks to him. Jacob, it's possible for heaven to touch earth and the earth to touch heaven. But then Jacob goes off to Laban's house, his uncle's house. There's a long story there of how he's cheated now too.
Yeah.
Okay, so he agrees to wages for a bride that's Rachel after 7 years of laboring away.
Yeah.
And he's given a bride, but it's not Rachel, it's Leah, and his wages are changed. Oh, work another 7 years, and then you can have Rachel. It works another 7 years, and the wages are changed again. And so after now 21 years of his career, okay, and that really is his career phase of his life.
Yeah.
And what has he done through all of that? he's been him.
Yeah.
He's been the false identity. He's been the schemer.
Yeah.
Okay. And so now he's sitting in the spot 20 years later where he's worked out a breeding scheme to where he can cheat his uncle out of, and he's like, but it's justified now, right? Because he cheated me, I'll cheat him back.
Yeah.
And there's so much of that justification that happens in our lives where we're like, well, I only did this because this person did this to me.
Right.
And we justify it. But all the while, all we're doing is solidifying false identity, or we're building up a better pose.
Yeah.
And now all of a sudden, it's not just a covering over our skin. It's actually, it's like attached to us.
Yes.
And we don't know where the false skin stops and where our skin begins, because it's like it's locked in. Does that make sense? What I'm trying to say?
100%.
And it's like we have no idea that we're wearing a pose anymore. It's just that's who I am. Yeah. And we've proven it over and over again. And we can point to times in our lives it's like, no, this is who I am because look it. Yeah. This is where it benefited me, but also, gosh, this is where it shamed me. And surely this is who I am. And I think that's where Jacob's then at the end of his time at Laban's house. But now he not only has like the history from his core family, now he has history in extended family and in the vocational space. Yeah. Where I've proven it. Yeah. And so now he's got Laban that's like, you're no longer welcome here. And so he's now running away, and he's running away with ill-gotten gain. Yeah. And probably now this is the older man's story, that's like, but I built a whole life. I built a bank account. I built a retirement fund. I built, a family.
That's my reputation.
I've got a lot to lose now. Yeah. And Jacob had 2 wives to lose. Yeah. He had 12 sons and I think maybe the beginning of grandkids, but he has all kinds of herds. Yeah. And he's a rich man now. Yeah. But if he looks at it, it's all really ill-gotten gain. Yeah. And so he's leaving Laban, and so one past is chasing him, Laban, and then he's going, and he finds out that he's running into another past. Yeah. And what's in front of him? Esau. And so now he's caught, so to speak, between a rock and a hard place. Yeah. And it's Laban chasing behind him, and really with the threat of taking away everything. Mm-hmm. And then Esau that's in front of him with the threat of taking away everything. And so now he's like, well, what can I use in my resources to appease my past? And so he throws some resources forward at Esau, but then he splits what he has in 2, because he's like, well, man, at least I'm going to lose everything. It'll only be half of my everything. And so he splits. He splits his family. Yeah. He splits his resources, and then it says he crosses over the Jordan, and it says that he's alone, alone with the past coming at him from 2 sides. Yeah. And now, what's over the title? In other words, like if we would look here, I'm not sure what chapter this is at this point that we're talking about, but be chapter 32. If you look at the title, it says that Jacob wrestles with God. Mm-hmm. That's not actually what the text says, though. There's nowhere in the text that like it introduces it as Jacob wrestles with God. Mm. What it says is Jacob was alone and he wrestled with a man. Mm. So if you're alone and you're wrestling with a man, who's the man you're wrestling with?
Myself.
Yeah, yourself.
Yeah.
And I think this is the crux of Jacob's identity battle. And he's there and he's wrestling with a man. Hmm. Am I Jacob? Mm-hmm. Or am I Esau? Am I a deceiver? Who am I? Yeah. And that's where God then steps into that scene where his past is catching up with him. Yeah. He's at this point of tragedy. He's at this point of desperation. And he's already made a deal with God at Bethel, but now he's at the spot where it's like, okay, like either I need to be somebody else or I'm going to lose everything. Yeah. And God kindly, redemptively says to him, who are you? And he says, I'm Jacob. Mm-hmm. And I think absolutely in his mind at that point, what he's saying is, God, I know. Before you, before everybody else, I know exactly who I am.
Yeah.
I'm a deceiver.
Yeah.
Have been since I was born.
Yeah.
Like, I know the story. I was wrestling my brother in the womb. I was fighting with him to start off with.
Yeah.
I know, that's what my parents called me.
Yeah.
That's what I did from the very beginning. I stole my brother's birthright. And there's so many of us as men that we get to this place where we're now older, and God says to us, who are you? And we're like, no, I know God.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
I know what you look at. When you see me,
yeah.
I know exactly who you see.
Gosh.
You see all of my past.
Yeah.
Every time I've messed up, this trusted voice that said to me, whether it's my dad or somebody else, spiritual leader, boss, it was like, man, this is who you are. It's it's who I've always been, God. I know. I'm Jacob. And I think that's absolutely what was going on there. God was saying, who are you?
Yeah.
And he was saying, no, I absolutely know who I am. And everything he thought about was the accuser. And he's like, and I tried to be Esau, but now Esau's about to catch up with me too.
Yeah.
And yep, that's who I am. And God says, nope, this is who I say that you are. You are Israel.
Yeah.
And he gives him a new name. And it's a reconnection back to Abraham.
Yeah.
That through you, I'm going to continue to make a great nation. Not just a great man. I'm going to make a great nation.
Yeah.
And that declaration of identity, when he's alone and he's wrestling with God, is redemptive. And God resets identity right there when he's alone and he allows God to speak, an overruling identity, both over the accusation and the pose.
Yeah.
Now, it says that he leaves there with a limp, okay? And there is a wrestling match, okay? And God was involved in it. But it's not like God was trying to beat him, okay? That's why I don't think it's right to say, he was alone and he wrestled with God. There was a wrestling match that was happening of identity that God stepped into.
Yeah.
And God overruled it.
Yeah.
And God overruled it with a new identity and a new destiny.
Yeah.
Okay? And that's the part where if we get to the place of right identity, then we can step into right destiny.
Yeah.
Right future, right behavior, all of that stuff. But if we skip over that and we're just like, I'm just trying to be somebody, then we'll just end up with a new pose probably.
Yes. Yeah.
And so he leaves with a limp. And at least what I believe that is, Austin, is it's the not just every day, it's the every step reminder of how much he needs God.
Yes.
And he lives out the rest of his life with new identity and new destiny, but every step remembering, man, I need you, God.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget that.
Yeah.
I can't be who I want to be without you.
Yeah.
And that's something that, at least for me, I feel like God's really helped me to remember who I wasn't without him, and that I can't be who I want to be unless he walks with me. And so God is the constant support for me, for each one of us, to be the man we actually want to be and that he wants us to be. So that's the story of Jacob. And it's the story of God's redemption, not just of a person, but of a people.
Yeah.
And what if that could be the story? What if that is God's story over each one of our lives? What if that's every man's journey?
Yeah, I think it is. Yeah, the thing that I've never made this connection before, but you talked about at the very beginning when Rebecca inquired of God, like, why are they wrestling, right? And he said, well, the younger is going to usurp, right? And the way I've always read that is like, that's just such a negative connotation. But what if God was saying that not in a negative sense, but in he was speaking identity and blessing over Jacob?
Yeah.
And then he steps into the world And maybe he knows that, maybe he doesn't. Maybe it's, spoken with a negative connotation or not. We don't know, right?
Yeah.
But what we see is him taking action and saying, well, okay, I need to go get.
Yes.
I need to go get the birthright. I need to go get the blessing. I need to go figure out how to breed these, sheep so that I can develop riches,
Yes.
As opposed to like, no, God spoke this over me and he's going to do this.
Wow, that's so good. Yeah, because that ties back in with your independence thing from earlier. That's like, whether it be in your life of like, okay, well, yeah, but this is who I am. So now I'm going to go earn it. I'm going to go achieve it. And we can attain a level of success that way.
Yeah. And he had obtained a lot of success that way.
But the way to do it with the Lord is it's patience. It's in God's timing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's so good.
And I think we could put that against like David's life, right?
Yes.
And so David's anointed king. And so what do you do with that how old do you think David was when he was anointed king?
Yeah, a teenager.
Yeah. I mean, and then you go and kill Goliath, and then there's songs written about you.
Yeah.
And then you get chased out, and Saul's trying to kill you, but you're a warrior, you killed Goliath, and you find yourself in multiple positions where your army of these rugged men are saying, hey, now's your time.
You're the guy.
Let's take him out. And remember, he's trying to kill you.
And God said you're the guy.
Yeah, God said you're the guy. We got your back. Like, go do it. And David's like, no.
Yeah.
No, I'm not doing it.
Yeah, I won't even raise my hand against
Won't even
God's
raise my
anointed.
hand.
Yeah.
And it's like, this guy's a mighty warrior, and he's got a band of brothers behind him. And really, on paper, everything would say he's in battle. It's justified. And he's like, no, I'm going to wait on God's timing.
Yes. Man, and I think that leads so well into the next podcast that we're going to do of then how does identity then translate into then purpose and accomplishment.
Yeah.
Basically with the Lord versus what can we accomplish without him.
Yeah.
And so I think that leads incredibly well into that. I think just to close off, to try and get practical with this one, and I know we've framed a lot of this just in this Old Testament story, but I think it's every man's story. I really do believe that. And God's story, not just for Jacob, but for each one of us, is a story first of redemption of identity, individually and communally. So what if practically, if somebody wants to engage with this in a way they're not just like, oh, I got smarter about the Bible today, or now I know my problem. What if we could just take some time and sit down and just maybe make three categories?
Yeah, I love that.
And just right over the top of one of them, what is the lie? What is the accusation? What is the voice that I hear in my head that I even have evidence for? I can point to, no, that I know why I believe that about myself because I've done this, and this.
Yep.
And that would be stuff that I think that's probably the one that's easiest to come up with. And so to just articulate that and be like, this is what I've believed about myself.
Yeah.
And to articulate it. And even if you can't fill out the next two just yet, to spend a little bit of time with that, not dwelling on it of like, this is who I'm going to be, but just, God, I want to believe that this is not who I am.
Yeah.
That you've made me to be somebody else. This is not who you say that I am. And just begin with articulating, I renounce this lie.
Yes.
I just rebuke it.
Yeah.
The renunciation of a lie is a precursor for a truth.
Wow.
Or a confession of truth. And so to just say, and just walk through them. God, this is not who you say that I am. And so I renounce this lie. I will not believe this. I renounce the enemy, the false father saying this over me. He's not my dad. He doesn't get to say who I am. You get to say who I am, God. And so I'm not going to believe that anymore. I'm not going to believe that about myself. I'm trusting you to replace that so I don't live my whole life just saying, well, I'm not that, I'm not that, I'm not that. I don't know who I am, but I'm not that.
Yeah.
But start with that maybe.
Yeah.
And then the second one, maybe categorically, just put pose across there.
Okay.
Or what is the thing that and that could be the articulation of who do I think other people expect me to be? Who does my wife expect me to be? Who do my kids expect me to be? What does my job expect me to be? And then even like, what do I expect me to be? What is my dad expecting me to be? And that's a pretty good one still.
Yeah.
That's like, how am I trying to live up to what my earthly dad wants me to be?
Yeah.
And again, that can be an 18-year-old problem. That could be a 64-year-old problem. Like there's men that their fathers have passed away that they're still trying to be who they think their dad wanted them to be. Yeah. It's real. Yeah. It's really real. So the articulation of who do other people expect me to be, or even like, what if I thought the best of me was? You know, like when it's like, oh, like, yeah, I'm the guy you can count on.
Yep.
Okay. Now, what I actually believe about myself is, I'm a fake. Yeah. I'm a phony. I'm an imposter. Yeah. But I've convinced some people they can count on me. I'm the one that gets stuff done. Yep. And so just to articulate that, like, what is the thing that you feel like kind of constantly requires propping up? Yep. Do you think that's an articulation that'll work?
I think so. It's that, what do I need to prove? What am I trying to always prove?
Yeah, it's a great way to say it. Yeah. So to articulate that. Yeah. And then again, just to take those identities back to God and just say, God, will you help me sift through these? Like, what is the truth in these? Because there are probably some things in there that God has used a good identity to accomplish a thing, but then the identity got associated with the accomplishment. Yes. And so it's like, oh yeah, well, I'm a self-made man. I'm an achieving, I'm a performer, I'm a producer. And God used some good identity in that, but now the identity, and that could have happened through a field, you know, in sport, of like, this is where I got acclaim, this is where I got a name. And so, and that's my pose now. Yeah. And then the third one. Now, God, who do you say that I am? And I really believe, and this is where I trust God, and we all just have to trust him, that it's not Matt's voice, it's not Austin's voice, and it's not even your voice that will speak to you in that moment. Yeah. That if we renounce all of the lies, and then we sift through all the poses, that then the only voice that will be left will be the voice of the Heavenly Father. And there is something about binding those other voices, renouncing them, that's like, it turns down all the rest of that noise, that racket, that is an internal racket, but it's also a racket of your history, you know, where it's like, oh no, but look at this example. I got examples for this. Yeah. And it just quiets all that. And at that moment, to just write down, even if you're like insecure, and if I'm honest, like, there's some of the times where God's been like, this is who you are, and I'm like, and I want to believe it, Austin. Yeah. But I just don't fully yet. Right. And I'm insecure even about writing it down, because I'm like, but I can't be that. Yeah. Like, I've proven I'm not that. Yeah. I can't be that. Yeah. And that's somebody else. And that's where it's okay to leave there with a limp. To leave that moment with a limp and just be like, this is what God said, and I do have an insecurity about it. But that just means I need to trust God. Yes. Every step. Yeah. And if I just trust God every step, this is the man that he'll not only make me, but he'll make me into a nation. And this will flow out from me into my biological family, into spiritual family, into the marketplace. And you know what? People will actually, not only will they know me, they'll know God through me. And that was the declaration of Jacob. Yeah. I not only want people to know you, I want people, or I not only want you to know who you are, I want people to know who I am through you. Yeah. And that's an incredible life.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's so good. And I think writing it down, like you're saying, and then also too, sharing it. You know, you've come back from some of these resets and you've shared, and it's been such a testimony to me just to hear, okay, wow, for one, to see you, like, I'm like, man, this is incredible. Where you are, you've like, God's used you in such incredible ways, but he's still speaking new identity into you every day. Yeah. And how hopeful is that? Yes. I mean, I think that's super fun about life. Like, God's like, not like, here it is. Okay, have fun for the next 50 years. It's like, no, Matt, this is who you are. We're gonna keep pulling these lies out, and this is who you are. Now go bring this out. And so it's just such an encouragement. So you got to write it down. And there's been so many times in my life where I feel like God's like whispered something into me, and kind of like what you're saying, where it's like, I don't know about that. Or it might just be like, okay, but you immediately step into the day and then you can forget about it, you know?
Yeah.
And write it down. We keep it in front of us. We keep talking to God and keep asking him to say, okay, what do you want me to know about this? How do you want me to live this out?
That's right. That's right.
And I think that's just so powerful.
Well, and you and I have a close friend that I've known him for a long time, and what I would say is I've looked up to him. He's like probably one of the most confident looking men I've ever been around. Okay, and in this new season of life, like what he's doing every morning is he's getting up and he's speaking it out before God. This is who I am.
Yeah.
And what he's told us, he's every morning, this is what I do.
Yeah.
And so even to take it the next step of not just writing it down, but and writing is important. Writing is the bringing of something from the immaterial world into the material world. And so we partner with God in that. But then to speak it and to speak it regularly. Would be just another practice.
Yeah.
And to speak it at moments, like at regular moments, whether it be in the morning, at night, but even then to speak it at moments of when you're at a crossroads, when you're at an insecurity, and just be like, no, this is who God said I am. I'm a voice box. Frankly, I told myself that again right before we started this podcast because I was like, God, like, how's this going to go? No, I'm your voice box. I just got to be who I am.
Yeah.
And then you'll use it.
Yeah.
And so I trust that he did.
And that's incredible. And I think just one other point on our friend here that he said that really spoke to me when he was sharing his journey in this was there's even one of these identities, I believe he said that he's still, okay, God, what do you mean by this? How does this look? How are you going to use this? Yeah. And it's still this conversational, what do you want me to know about this? And so I think there's a lot of beauty in that of like God is continuing to reveal himself in this identity that he's spoken over him. And it's that daily, like, speaking this out and saying, okay, God, what do you want me to know? How do you want me to walk in obedience in this today?
Yeah.
Just so powerful.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So God, we just pray together that your identity would be heard and then lived out by every person that's listening to this, and that the people would not just be moved to a place of understanding, but moved to a place of action and identity. And we pray that your blessing would rest on everybody as they walk into that blessing, not only for their own lives, but blessing be broadcast through them for generations. We trust you to turn the tide of culture, and that your rising tide would lift every boat. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
Yeah. So till next time, thanks for just being together with us, you guys.
Yeah.
And I know, like, it's amazing just be here together with you, Austin. I know that there's other people that are following along, and getting to be in this journey with everybody has been awesome. And look forward to next time.